Hello, my name is Liael, or Caffeine and Misery, and today, because Omniscient Awakening gave it a lot of support, and I'm very satisfied with it personally, I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite Divine Skill decks, and the only Keter one of the 3 Keter Divine Skill decks I play, the Fated One of Time, Liael Amorta. I don't know if this one or the Odium video is going to be going up first. I haven't decided that, but I mentioned it there. Both Gear Chronicle and Angel Feather have a special place in my heart. Angel Feather is by far my favorite clan. At most, maybe Aquaforce is tied with that. And when I started the game, I started on Chronofang. But like old G Chronofang. So Gear Chronicle has always been like a special thing for me with this game, and I really like that we got 2 different angels that are both Angel Feather and Gear Chronicle. I think it's neat. And we're going to be talking about the one I actually prefer to play of the 2. But enough of me yapping, let's go ahead and get into the profile. So for the ride line, I'm on the intended Odium ride line. I typically do that when one player of the Heaven of Lovely Harp, Adorphus, is rode upon by the Grade 2, player of the Beautiful Chord, Elfaria. For Soul Blast 1, you draw 2 and then discard a normal unit. It works the same way as the original Zorga Grade 1, but with normal units instead, and it's a when rode upon instead of being an act. The Grade 2, player of Beautiful Chord, when she's rode upon by a Grade 3 Liael, you can pick any number of normal units from drop, bottom deck them, and if you put at least 3 cards, you draw a card, which honestly means if you're feeling really defensive, you want to play excessively defensive, you are able to use your perfect cards early and make sure they're back in deck. But oh, Liza, they're going to the bottom deck. It's fine. And we'll get into the why they're fine in a moment. Because we're on the Fated One of Time, Liael Amorta. So Liael has the skill that when she attacks for a counterblast, you select one of your rear guards, bind it, and then you call a unit with the same name to the circle. The way it works is going to be very important for that because it does place, and you do need a copy, so managing which rear guards you actually still have copies of in deck will be important. Its second ability is an auto ability during your opponent's turn when placed on Guardian Circle by discarding a card and putting 2 bound units back to the bottom of deck. You can perfect guard a Fated One. It's specifically Fated One, so it's only ever going to protect your Vanguard, but that's perfectly fine. For the Grade 3 cards, obviously I'm on 3 more copies of Amorta. She's a perfect guard, she's your Persona Ride, and you do need the multiples for her Divine Skill. Thought I forgot? No, I just want to talk about it when I have the extras, because at the end of the battle she attacks, as long as your opponent's on Grade 3, you can Superior Ride a copy of her from drop with Drive -1. It's not a Persona Ride because Persona Ride is very specific, but it's a third attack, it's an extra attack and extra drive, and you can use her Bind Skill again, so you're getting 2 extra attacks out of it. Other than that, the only other Grade 3 rearguard I'm on, or Grade 3 unit I'm on for the main deck, is Blessed Dragon Gabuelius. On place for 1 Soul Blast, you get to look at the top of your deck and either leave it on top, put it on the bottom. If you put it on the bottom, he gets 5. All that when he attacks, as long as you have 4 more damage, he gets 5. Then if he was placed by a Fated One skill, and a rearguard hasn't done drive checks, so if you're not on the Keter OT and you haven't used his skill, for a counterblast, he gets 10k instead and drive -1, and then he can perform drive checks, so he's an extra drive. Very simple, very straightforward, and it means you're not relying on the Grade 2 rearguard that we will be getting to in a moment as your only good target for Amorta's bind. And then lastly, the regardless piece I'm on is Radiance Calibarn, which is either pot of greed or put into soul, counter turn 1. you're going to be going through counter a lot in the deck. You're going to be going through a lot of soul. This deck has a lot of resource usage. And the main other reason you'll be going through soul is the main grade 2 rearguard you will be running, which is Sword Saints of Itinerance Eateras. I hope I said that right. The way Eateras works is as long as you have a copy of him in the bind zone, he gets 10k. And then when he's bound during your turn, if you have a grade 3 Liael, for a Soul Blast, you draw a card, you give your Vanguard 5. So, and that's only going to be happening off Liael, so what he swings, she attacks, binds him, you can get 20k beater, and then your Vanguard's getting bigger with an extra draw. That, I'm also on what I believe is the card that fixes a lot of the problems of this deck, alongside Blessed Dragon Gabalius, the Sequence Wizard. It has two very simple skills. When placed, you can counterblast 1, check the top 5, and call a grade 3 or less unit. And then, when one of your rear guards is bound by your Vanguard skill, he gets 5k, and you may soul charge 1. So you're recouping the soul you're using off Iridus or Gabalius. It's getting bigger, and he gets to dig for some of your combo pieces, your main beaters, Gabalius and Iridus. Along with that, I have 2 copies of Knight of Piercing Skies. Is Pernicetra, who during your turn, she has the same clause as Iridus, but only gets a 5k boost. And then when your grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Liael and its name is placed for Energy Blast 3 and bind her, you draw a card. The main reason I'm only running 2 is I honestly don't think she's that great. However, if you see her early, you see her in your grade 2 turn, you call her. When you ride up into Amorta, she's an extra draw, and she sets up your bind zone to have 2 so that your Amorta's perfect guard skill is live. Excuse me. Lastly, for grade 2s, I'm on 3 copies of Biscotti. When she is discarded to ride or upon guard, you Energy Blast 3 or Counter Blast 1 to draw a card. And then with the same cost, as long when placed on rear for a Persona Ride turn, you check the top 3, you take one of them, either put it on top of deck or call it if she's placed during the main phase. And then you bottom deck the rest. So she's good filtering. She's not as good of a target, but she is technically a target for Amorta to bind and call. Moving on to the grade 1 rear guards. I'm on 2 copies of Magic of Stimulants Euphoria, who during the battle she boosts. As long as you're on her Odium, she gets 5k. And then when she boosts Liael, I said her name there. When she boosts, as long as you have a grade 3 Liael. And then when she boosts Liael Vanguard for a Soul Blast, she can choose one of your rear guards, or put a copy of it onto the bottom of deck, and then give one of your units 5k, and along with that, she gets 2k just naturally before the Soul Blast. I'm also on 2 copies of Swordsman of Twin Stance Ishtir, who when your rear guard in the same column is bound by your Liael, he restands not once per turn. So if you, during your Divine Skill turn, you do the same column, you're getting a booster for all 3 attacks. Also on 3 copies of Gragon, who as long as a unit was placed by the skill of your Vanguard with the Divine Skill, it gets plus 5k, and at the end of the battle it boosts for retiring it, countercharge 1. Again, you go through a lot of counter, you go through a lot of soul in this deck. He's what fixes your counterblast. And then lastly for rear guards, I'm on 2 copies of Tolpaz still, because again, you live and die by seeing Iridus, you live and die by seeing Gabalius. You need to be seeing your combo pieces to make it work. And the way Tolpaz works is by taking 2 cards that were originally in your ride deck back to the ride deck from soul or drop. When placed on rear, he checks the top 5 for a unit to call. And when placed on Guardian Circle, he gets plus 15 guard, so he's a 20k guard. Both incredibly helpful. And then lastly, I'm on 4 copies of Kethlin, so I'm on 7 perfect guards with asterisks. For my trigger lineup, I'm on 8 criticals. The soul crits are important in this deck. Again, you go through soul a lot. If you're not seeing Sequence Wizard and Calibar, you will need to recoup that soul. I'm also on 3 front triggers. The extra guard's really important. Buffing the front row is really important, especially if you're swinging really big. Obviously 4 regular heal triggers. And then my OT of choice for this deck is Eidos Pharos still, as it is for most Keter Sanctuary decks, because I feel the Recurge is really helpful and the extra crit. You can add back, say, an Amorta used Perfect Guard, that way you have the Persona right in hand, because you will be able to just Soul Blast to get an Amorta back for a Divine Skill if you haven't used it yet. But that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, do all the YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. And I'll see you guys next time. Ciao.